Oh my God, this is so bad. Ah. Hi, and welcome to Flaa Talk. I'm Kjersti, and here on my channel I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter. So this morning I reached 200,000 subscribers. Oh my God, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, you guys, for being so supportive of my channel. I really appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, it's not too late. You can just hit the notification button as well so you don't miss an episode of Flaa Talk. Also, because of the video I made yesterday, a lot of people said I should make a t-shirt saying 1,000,000%. So I did. It's for sale in my Etsy store. I'll leave a link below if you're interested in the 1,000,000% t-shirt. Today, I have two lawyers with me from Ask Two Lawyers. I was going live on their channel yesterday, and today I had a conversation with them. I had so many questions I wanted to ask them. First of all, because I saw yesterday that Blake Lively had changed some stuff up in her amended complaint. Now she is describing that dancing scene very differently than she did in her first complaint. There was a post on X from Legal Bites who noticed this, and they made kind of a big deal about it. So I thought, yeah, let's ask two lawyers about it. So yes, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Jenny Slate and Isabela Ferrer. You know, now their names are kind of leaked. It was in a Hollywood Reporter article that I saw this morning that their names were there. Sources are claiming it's them. So now, as I noticed as well, Jenny Slate is getting a lot of heat on Instagram. And I saw that Isabela Ferrer closed off her comment section. I also asked these lawyers what they think, if this is strengthening Blake Lively's case and the fact that these girls are anonymous in the lawsuit, and also what they think about those leaked HR complaints that was circulated around last week. And a lot of people commented on them. They were not picked up by the press because they looked quite suspicious. But yeah, let's get on to my two guests today. Keith and Stuart from Ask Two Lawyers. Oh my God, this is so bad. Thank you guys for being on my channel, Flaa Talk. We were just laughing out loud because I didn't manage to record the first one or the second one. So now
we're getting better with age, though.
Now I feel I really know you guys, that you're part of my daily routine here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we have recording on and everything's perfect and you guys look amazing, and you're going to talk a little bit about your first thoughts when you saw Blake Lively's amended complaint.
Okay, so I was able to read the amended complaint, which, by the way, it's very abnormal. It's almost 180 pages, 400 and some odd paragraphs. Complaints are not normally that long, but this one has to be for public consumption. And I boiled it down to four main points. So if you were to believe her allegations, they kind of, everything she says kind of fits into one of these 4 points in my mind. So number one, both Baldoni and Heath are creeps. And so there's a lot of allegations about how just creepy they are per her complaint. Number two, the SH has nothing to do with taking over the movie, even though she doesn't deny that she took over the movie. Of course, it'd be probably impossible to do that, but she's trying to separate out the SH from the movie takeover. Number three, we are all dupes. So you're a sucker, we're suckers. Everybody on the internet that's talking about this are suckers because we've all been suckered in by the astroturfing, which I didn't even know what that term meant until the amended complaint. So apparently that's when people leave fake comments from fake accounts.
I think that was in the original complaint too, but it is a new term to me as well.
Yeah. So anyway, that number three is we're all dupes. And number four, the smear campaign designed by Baldoni's team was intended to derail the SH claims that Lively brought later in time, which seems a little odd to me because her bad press came in early August, and yet the complaint to the CRD didn't happen till December 20th. But her claim is that this whole elaborate scheme to smear her came about because Baldoni knew that she was going to be filing this complaint with the CRD.
Interesting. And then we saw today, I sent you some clippings from Twitter that someone was mentioning how they actually changed that dancing scene that she presented in her first lawsuit, that it was very damning evidence against him. And then all of a sudden that video leaked and we could all see it. It was with audio and all of us were like, what? That doesn't sound like what you were describing in your first lawsuit. And now they kind of changed it. How does that make them look?
Yeah, it doesn't make them look good. And if you look at the way that they changed it, really what they did is they said, well, yes, all of that happened, but when Baldoni was in that scene dancing, he wasn't in character. And she was being forced to act as though she loved him, which is, in my mind, just acting. And so rather than saying that these horrible things happened, now they're saying, well, no, yeah, but she didn't want that. And he wasn't really in character and it wasn't within the context of what it should have been. So they're trying to skew it kind of a different way. So it kind of makes them look like they're trying to take that video now that it's out and kind of spin it in a different direction.
So what do you think she's going to look like if she has to take the stand?
So there's a couple steps before she takes the stand at trial. And I think the trial is set for about a year out from now. There's depositions, and she would have a videotape deposition. And we think that that would be horrible for her to actually appear for a videotape deposition in this case, meaning she has to hopefully resolve this case before then. But what you're trying to do from a strategy standpoint is to solidify this lie from Baldoni's viewpoint that Blake Lively made. And she lied in their minds about what occurred during that dancing scene because she wasn't aware that there was audio that would maybe explain and give some context to what was happening there. So, of course, she changes her in her amended complaint, she changes the view of it a little bit because she has to, because you can't contest the audio. So I would take the position, if I was representing Baldoni, that she lied. And if she lied, I just want to firm that lie up. I want to firm that lie up in deposition, and I want to firm it up multiple times in deposition in different ways. I want to firm it up when she's at taking the stand at trial. I want to impeach her with what she said in her deposition. If she contradicts that, I also want to impeach her with the actual audio. And then in closing argument, I want to be able to tell the jury that the judge is going to tell them that if they find out any of the witnesses in this case, including the parties, including Blake Lively, if they find that she just was dishonest and lied on one single point of evidence in this case, in her testimony, the jury instruction says that they are allowed to discount her entire testimony. In other words, her testimony won't even count. And that is that's a harsh reality, because if the jury chooses not to listen to anything she has to say, she's the best witness in this case. Everything she's saying in her amended complaint is really from her. There's not a whole lot of documentary evidence we've seen to support the claims that are made in her complaint, like you see with Justin Baldoni's complaint, where there's extensive documentary evidence backing it up. So her testimony is super important in this case. And if you can show the jury that she's lied, juries don't like liars. Trials are about credibility. Trials are about the truth, and juries want the truth. And if you lie to them, they will hold it against you.
And that's why you think, like you mentioned before, that you think this video is the most damning evidence that Baldoni has so far.
I think so. And it's better than words. So the text, looked fairly damning too, but the video, I mean, just her demeanor, the way she's acting, the way she looks, I watched it again this morning just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Because when you read the amended complaint, you're going, my gosh, somebody's trapped in this embrace and she's trying to push away, is what they're trying to create in your mind with how they state it. And then you watch the video and you're like, well, I'm not seeing any of that. So yeah, I think you said picture speaks 1,000 words and this video speaks, a million words. So it really is an impactful and powerful piece of evidence that's going to go against Lively. And that's why her deposition is not going to be pretty. And if I were her attorney, I'd want to get out of this case before she has to sit for deposition, not just because it might be bad for the case, but PR-wise, it's not going to be good.
And Kjersti, can I add one thing? One trick we like to do with experts when there's video evidence or photographic evidence, here that's a video, is if there's an opposing expert on the stand and I'm cross-examining them, I'm going to be asking them multiple times, well, tell the jury what this video shows, and what do you think this video shows? And I want them to say over and over again what they think the video shows. And every expert's going to skew it towards their view of the case. And then the penultimate question to the expert is, but you agree with me, the jury is able to determine for themselves what this video is showing. I mean, this jury doesn't have to be an expert. They don't need an expert to come in and explain to them how to watch a video. You would agree with me on that. And it essentially eviscerates the expert's testimony, because jurors are very bright, especially collectively. When they're all together, they all come from varied backgrounds. They're the smartest people in the room collectively, and they generally get the right result. So the experts here are going to be important, but ultimately this video is damning. And I think you're right to say, or I was right to say, this is some of the most damning evidence in this case.
Yeah, but they also added to their amended complaint that there was a intimacy coordinator interviewed in The Hollywood Reporter, and she said that Blake Lively looked uncomfortable and was pulling away. Does that have any weight whatsoever? Why do you think they put that even in there?
Well, I think that's part of the PR battle. From a legal perspective, there would be no reason to put a statement by an expert in your complaint. It won't be shown to the jury. When you do go to trial, each side is going to have experts that they hire. Everybody has hired experts, and really experts are just hired guns. Everybody knows this. The lawyers are going to ask the experts on the stand, how much were you paid in this case to prepare for your testimony today? And they're going to say, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, whatever it was. And so everybody kind of knows the deal. And we call it the battle of the experts. So each side is going to have their own experts to say their own thing. Putting a statement by somebody who obviously was not even a retained expert, they were just saying something as a talking head on television in a complaint, that had to have been there solely for the PR battle, because it does you no good from a legal perspective. You can't use that opinion. It's come time of trial. It
sounds like they're desperate to me.
Yeah.
They're desperate because they're taking something that we would never drafted in any of the complaints we've ever drafted, because it's pointless. This is only for public consumption.
Right.
And it's only to try to take back the narrative that Baldoni's team has done a very good job of. And perhaps the reason they've done such a good job on the Baldoni's team is because they have more truth on their side than perhaps Blake Lively does.
That could be. So what is your thoughts on these allegedly HR complaints that leaked last week, and they were everywhere, and they were trying to shop around apparently on different media outlets, and no one picked them up because they thought maybe they looked a little suspicious. But then some creators and influencers picked them up, and they became kind of a big thing on social media, and they were very damning towards Baldoni if they were to be true. But I think we all now know that they're probably not, since they weren't even in the amended complaint. But do you guys think that Baldoni's lawyer will go after these and try to figure out who and how they ended up being leaked like that and where they're coming from? Could that be a good defense for him to actually try and follow that lead and see where he ends up?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the discovery process, where you can issue subpoenas to find out, give me all the documents that you have. Where did the documents come from? You can subpoena different parties. You can also take depositions. And so if you know who supposedly made these complaints, they'll probably be noticed and have to sit for a deposition and be questioned on that. I haven't actually read these other HR complaints, and I think Sony has come out publicly and said that nobody ever filed an HR complaint with them. And so it begs the question, what are these? Where are they coming from? Are they part of Lively's team trying to kind of drum up support and get some favorable evidence? Are they actual complaints that were floating around during the production of the movie? And so all of that, Baldoni's team is going to have to get to the bottom of that and see what's true and what isn't.
So do you think, they did mention that there were two new women who were willing to testify against Baldoni, that they have been allegedly felt uncomfortable on set, but they didn't name them. But now it's already kind of leaked who they are. Do you think it matters if their names were in the lawsuit? Would that have made it stronger? Or is it normal to just name anonymous people who will down the line be able to or willing to testify?
Well, in a normal lawsuit, you don't necessarily have to name names. I mean, a normal lawsuit of this nature would have a complaint that's probably 20 to 25 pages long. This complaint is 180 some pages long. And so it's not just a lawsuit, it's a PR campaign. The fact that they didn't include the names in my mind when I was reading it made it felt like it wasn't real or it wasn't very credible. And the problem is you're dealing with the lively side where they've already told us things that were proven to be not credible. And so now you're saying, well, there's other people too, but you're not saying who they are. So it puts a big question mark in my mind. It's not uncommon to not name people in complaints. A complaint is just the starting position that you have in a lawsuit, and then the discovery gets started and the evidence starts to come in from there. But in this particular lawsuit and this particular PR battle, I think excluding the names was not a good move. And I think it made everybody question, is this even real?
Yeah, and you better hope that these HR complaints are genuine and credible. There's some credibility to them, because if we do learn that these were brought about by Blake Lively and her team, it's just going to compound already all the other bad facts that they're dealing with.
Yeah. So if you were Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's lawyers today, what would you suggest them to do? I mean, if they would listen to you, because I think they probably won't listen to any experts or advisors or lawyers at this point. It doesn't sound like this because they make so many mistakes and bad decisions.
So this is like a really messy room that you walk into and you're not quite sure where to start, but you have to start somewhere. And that's what my advice would be. And that would be, we need to reach out to the Baldoni team, and we need to find who the leader is over there, who the adult in the room is over there. And we need to start dialoguing with that individual to figure out if there is a way out of this. It won't be cleaned up immediately, just like a very messy room, but you've got to start somewhere. And if you can get a human connection with somebody on the other side, get some diplomacy started, now you can bring the sides together, at least privately, with just a small group of lawyers and maybe some PR people, and really figure out, is there a path forward and out of this? It seems insurmountable. It seems like this case cannot be settled, but that's true of every case. Every case that goes to litigation is difficult. It's hard to settle, and 95% of cases settle. Maybe it's even more, maybe it's even higher than that. It's a very high percentage of cases settle, and yet every single case seems like, oh, this case will never settle. There's always a path to resolve these things, but you have to start with a conversation. And right now, both sides are under strict orders to kill each other. And that's what's happening. Both sides are trying to kill each other. And right now, Baldoni's team is winning hands down. Public opinion is completely behind him. You've got even conservative bloggers, Candace Owens comes to mind, Meghan McCain. These are very conservative people, and they are completely behind Baldoni and his team and what's happening here. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, they need to listen to their lawyers, and they need to resolve this case if possible.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's funny how you're saying all the conservatives are supporting him, and he's like the epiphany of a woke man with like so spiritual and with his man bun and like. So yeah, I find that so amusing. Anyways, last question. So many people in my comment section have told me like, you should sue the New York Times. What do you think? Should I have sued the New York Times for putting me in that article?
Yeah, it's not easy to win a defamation lawsuit. There's a lot that goes into it, and people are kind of surprised at just how hard it is. And private people get more protection than public people. Because when you're a private person, the expectation is you're not out there for public consumption. Whereas public people, even if you're on YouTube, for example, in your case, you're a reporter, you're more of a public person, and so the standard for defamation goes higher. Because under freedom of speech, people should be able to say more about you when you're a public person, and that's protected. So it's not an easy lawsuit to bring and win, but it does seem like, based on what they said about you and the insinuations they made, that you would have grounds to file a lawsuit. Whether or not you win it, that's another matter. And so you could go into this lawsuit. It's a big case. You're wading into a huge mess, and it probably would be, a small nightmare for you. But you could do it, and maybe you get some compensation for that, and you have a seat at the table when everybody settles. Or you could get into it and just get completely obliterated, because lawsuits are not pleasant. But it sounds like you have grounds to file a lawsuit. Whether or not you win, that's another question.
Yeah, I don't think I will. I don't want to. I don't want to get more involved in any more mess. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add? What do you think this lawsuit will go to court? You think 95% chance not? You said, or
I was handicapping, that this goes to trial at about 10%. So I think there's a 90% chance that it settles. And if I represented Blake Lively, I would want it to settle before she sits for deposition, because not only could it be not good for the legal case, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for the PR side. And so I think the sooner that they can kind of figure out a path out of this, the better. It won't be easy, but it's not impossible. It feels impossible, but it's not.
let's hope they do, or not. I don't know. There's so much to talk about every day. It's kind of entertaining for the rest of us. Thank you guys so much. I will leave a link in the description so you can follow these amazing attorneys. They talk a lot about this case, and I was on there live yesterday. So yeah, I'll leave a link to that as well. Thank you so much, Stuart and Keith. I really appreciate our conversation, and I managed to record it this time.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please continue sending me tips and comment here on YouTube. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the notification button so you don't miss an episode of Flaa on Talk. And yeah, be polite and nice to each other. It's a much better world when we are nice to each other. Anyways, I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.